Good evening, everybody. This is Chris.
And Beth.
And
We're still drinking and telling stories.
Yes, we're still...
So, cheers.
Cheers. Let's get toasted. And share some spooky stuff tonight. So...
Creepy dolls, too.
Yes, creepy dolls, too. Good evening, everybody. I hope that you've had a better week than we have. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
I think we've done enough...
Enough venting online, so we need to stop doing that.
Yeah.
And get our emotions back under control and be professional again. And, hey, Julie!
Yay!
Hey! So we're actually doing creepy dolls, too, because we had some questions and after the first one about certain dolls, one of them being Peggy that Julie had mentioned she had actually gone and seen. So we're going to talk about Peggy tonight. And there was a question about, do we have any haunted dolls in Virginia? They did ask in plantations or museums. I did not find any in plantations or museums. I'm still looking, but didn't find any yet. But I did find a couple. So we're going to have two stories about Virginia haunted dolls as well. So you ask, and I will try to research and find it for you and talk about it on another episode. So yeah, if you guys have questions or you want to pop up and see anything else, you know, we're going to do our best to talk about what you want to talk about. And we're going to keep doing this.
Yes. And we got Glenn back. Hey, Glenn.
Woo.
So, yeah.
Glad you're feeling better.
Glad you're feeling better. I hope you got a chance to catch up on the show from last week and that you had a chance to enjoy that.
So, I started the research this time about some fun creepy doll facts. And I think that's... Is that Patrick? That is Patrick. Sorry, it's really tiny, tiny print on the iPad that we're filming from. So, hi, Patrick.
Yep. Better you all having to be professional than me. I still feel like the end of the world. Living in a bunker, yes. Yeah, it's been one of those days for us.
Yeah, we're slowly getting better. Construction's done in the house, so I can cook again, which is a wonderful thing. It's a de-stressor for me, even though we had popcorn for dinner tonight.
We got Denise here with us as well. Hi, Denise. Thank you for... Yeah, it's gone over fairly well. We like to think that this has been a good idea, too. So,
yes.
Cheers.
Cheers to that. Okay, so some fun haunted doll facts that I scrounge up. Dolls date back to 100 AD. The original purpose of dolls were for them to actually hold the spirits of people. So that's right. They were meant to hold a person's spirit after they had passed on or trap a person's spirit in it. That just makes them more creepy. Yeah.
Different traditions.
Different traditions. Our second fact, dolls are a source of comfort for children when they're sad, scared, and happy. The energy from a child is absorbed by the people around them and also by the doll. The longer a child plays with the doll, the more likely the doll inhibits its own energy, effectively having a mind of its own. A lot of psychics will say the energy of the person who created it, the energy of anybody who owned it, all goes into the doll. And we'll come back to that a little bit later. Number 3, dolls have been used in witchcraft and voodoo. The reason because they take on the shape of a human, and antique dolls found online are twice more likely to have been used in a voodoo or a witchcraft ritual. So be careful when you're buying dolls online. Number 4, relatives and people close to you may have died and had a doll. Some say as many as 3 out of every 20 dolls ask as a host for spirits, so the deceased can hang on to what they love, and some say it's so they can keep watch over you. And haunted doll fact number 5, most antique dolls have been through a lot in their past. Most have been through world wars, have survived to show us their glory. When holding an antique doll, remember somebody really loved it, cared for it, and held it as protection. They are most likely passed away, and their spirit could possibly be attached to that doll. So there are your fun haunted doll facts for tonight. I'm going to let Chris tell you the story. This is the very first... story in Virginia. We're going to kind of bookend with Virginia tonight.
Yes. So we got a lot of stories. Some of them are kind of short, little vignette type ones, and then we got these other ones, a couple of kind of in depth, really interesting ones.
Really interesting ones. So.
It's very important to point out that this first story is truly a work of fiction. And Jules, hi Jules, glad you're joined in tonight, and yes, so thank you, Glenn.
But yeah, it's a short story, but it's actually based on a doll. I've been trying to find the doll, but I just found the story today.
Yeah.
So I'm still searching to see if I can actually find specifically which house. It's in Chesterfield County, but I'm trying to figure out exactly which manor house this is, if it still stands. And there's no word on where this doll is, but it brings in that whole voodoo idea, or that whole doll used in some type of nefarious way.
But yeah, it's the whole kind of based on a true story type
so
thing.
I'm hunting down the true story, but it's, as I said, I just found the story today.
And it's a good story, so we're going to share it with you tonight. So this story surrounds Colonel Masters, a retired military officer who had, years before, served with the British Army in India. During this service, he had committed some crimes so atrocious that he believed there would be retribution for it in his lifetime. He lived in fear of not knowing when someone would find him seeking revenge. One stormy evening while the colonel was out, there was a knock on the front door of the colonel's manor house. The housekeeper answered the door and was frightened by what she saw before her. It was a dark-skinned, fierce-looking man. He thrust a package into her hands, briskly stating that it was for Colonel Masters, and then he melted back into the black, stormy night. The housekeeper and governess opened the package to discover an unusual-looking doll made of wax with flaxen hair. There seemed to be something mysterious about the doll. They both assumed it was for the colonel's daughter and gave her the doll without telling the colonel about the visit. The doll and the girl, Monica, became inseparable. She slept with it, tightly clutching it in her arms. One night, the governess was checking on Monica before retiring for the night. When she peeked into the room, she saw the doll was standing and walking around. Later, the housekeeper reported to the governess that the doll had red splotches on it. The housekeeper insisted it was real blood, but the governess tried to convince the housekeeper it was just red paint. The housekeeper reminded the governess the doll was not painted in any way. Several nights later, both of them heard two voices coming from Monica's room. One was Monica's, but the other was most definitely not. It was very different. The two ladies learned, to their utter horror, that the doll could speak. At this point, they were so terrified of the doll, they agreed that they needed to inform the colonel of the night the doll had arrived. He somehow sensed, when he heard of the dark-skinned man and his package, that this related to the revenge he had feared since his days back in India. Finally, one night after midnight, he and the governess slipped into Monica's room and opened the door. The doll then sensed him moving swiftly straight towards the colonel, who stood frozen in absolute horror. The doll savagely attacked the colonel's throat. Its little jaws were bitten deep in and fastened tightly. The doll then suddenly dropped limply to the floor near the base of a half-open window, and a dark-skinned arm then reached through the window to scoop up the doll and disappear. The next morning, Colonel Master was found dead on his bed in his room with a swollen, blackened tongue.
Yeah.
Assassination by doll.
Creepy. Very, very creepy. You guys all thought Robert was bad. This could be Robert's cousin.
Could be. There's lots of candidates for Robert's cousin. We got a couple of them tonight.
We do.
There's some nasty ones. But yeah, that was a work of fiction, one of those based on a true story type deal. So
if anybody knows the true story and wants to give me a couple of leads to go and find it, that would be awesome. It's a fascinating short story. And as I said, it was supposed to take place in Chesterfield County, possibly around the Bermuda 100 area. Is where the manor house was supposed to be. So, as I said, I'm trying to figure out which manor house this was, and is it still even standing, and who was the real colonel, because I'm assuming that the colonel in here is a fictitious name.
It certainly narrows it down, because you're talking a British officer serving in India. It tells me that it must have been firmly set back in colonial times.
Yeah. So the house still standing might not be there.
Yeah.
But if we can find what it was, where it was located, that'd be a start.
Be an interesting tale.
Scavenger hunt.
Scavenger hunt. But yeah, we just found that out today, so we hadn't had too much time to do some follow-up research on it. So we shall see what comes of that.
Yeah, I'll have to check with our paranormal friends and see if any of them may be knowing what it is or where it is, and give us some leads. But that's kind of cool. It's a fun story. All right, so on to Peggy the doll. This is one of the most haunted dolls, most dangerous dolls out there. and this is the one our friend Julie actually mentioned that she has seen. Peggy now resides actually in Zach Bagans' museum in Las Vegas, his haunted artifact museum. You have to sign a waiver to go into her room because she has been known to affect people medically. People have walked by her, have looked at her, and have suffered different medical issues. One woman even had a heart attack. If you look at her photos online, it's actually, or watch videos of her online, it's actually said that you could be affected by her as well. So she's considered a very, very dangerous doll. But the original owner was Jane Harris. She was a paranormal investigator in Shrewsbury, Shropshire, in England. And this is near the River Severn. She came in possession of the doll when it was given to her by the previous owner. And Peggy, as I said, is believed to be haunted and the source of much distress. After coming into possession, Jane said Peggy changed her life forever. In Peggy's presence, as I mentioned, people have suffered chest pain, nausea, crippling headaches, among other physical oddities. Superstitions run high in this corner of England, and so many of them believe that curses are real, and if you cross paths with this mysterious doll, it could possibly curse you. She's a beautiful looking doll. The pictures I've seen of her, she's gorgeous looking, but there's definitely something in the eyes, and that's what people warn you about. It has actually predicted the death of somebody's cat and believed to have ties to the Holocaust. Great tragedy seems to be fixed upon this doll, and Jane continued to work with it to try to unravel its mysteries and maybe possibly be able to release the spirit that's within it. Unfortunately, she did not succeed. I have a lot of information here, so I'm trying to condense it down. The video footage that so many people have looked at and been affected by shows the creepy doll and the paranormal enthusiasts, people looking at it straight in the eye. Another woman said she suffered a heart attack almost immediately after watching the video of Jane and Peggy while she was driving a car, so she's really lucky she survived. Other people have reported visions of mental institutions as they watch or see the doll in person. The original owner of the doll might have been abused in an institution. They're also saying that she might have been Jewish in some ways, thus the connection to the Holocaust. The original owner actually owned it in 1942. So smack dab in the middle of World War II, Holocaust going on. Other people say that some of the phenomenon that goes on, small computer-like screens are freezing, sharp headaches, sense of dread. One lady said when she opened a photograph of Peggy, her computer froze on the picture and the room went cold. She then said that someone in the room was with her and could hear that person moving around even though she was the only live person in the room. The lady was messaging with Jane via FaceTime, asking her to advise her on what to do, so she took Peggy down into an isolated area and requested that she cease tormenting this poor woman, and apparently everything returned to normal when she went back up to check the computer and the FaceTime. Another lady also experienced light bulbs blowing and a presence in her own home after she had been speaking about Peggy. With Peggy, it's not only the people that are looking or watching her, it seems to affect afterwards. Only one guess is... I'm sorry, I gotta sneeze.
Oh!
Only one can guess what Jane's curiosity that got the better of her as she continued to examine Peggy, and what eventually made her give it to Zach. I was not able to find the reason why Zach was able to convince her to give him the doll, but she was. I did read a newspaper review of Zach's museum of a woman who went to visit it, and she had actually had encountered Peggy prior to this and said that she had an excruciating migraine when she went to originally see Peggy. And when she introduced herself and gave her regards to Peggy, she's very much similar to Robert. You need to do that and show the respect when you visit Peggy. But she did ask Peggy to get rid of her migraine, and Peggy helped in that sense. And so when she went back to visit Peggy again in Zach Bagans' museum, she introduced herself, and put, she had her eyes lowered so she wasn't looking directly into the doll's eyes. She put some various ghost hunting equipment around the doll, K2 meter, a periscope, and also a spirit box. And when she came in, she said, "Hi, Peggy. Do you remember me?" And Peggy said, "Hello, Dee." She remembered the woman's name, even though she had never actually introduced her name to Peggy. And then continued to say, "Do you remember the last time we met?" And it responded back, "Yes, migraine." So she was very intellectually interacting with Dee. And Dee said, "I wanted to thank you for, helping me get rid of that migraine that day. You were very helpful, and I just wanted to make sure I thanked you in person for that." And then Peggy said, "You're welcome." There was another bit in there that happened, but then Peggy said, "I'll see you tomorrow." She actually did have plans to come back the next day to tour the rest of the museum, and she stopped in to say hi to Peggy again because Peggy had said, "I'll see you tomorrow," and she didn't want to disrespect Peggy. I did notice somebody asked, "Are we going to go see Peggy?" I actually, in some ways, I would love to go to this museum, but I am so sensitive, I'm scared out of my wits to go. Robert the doll really affected me when I did see him. I did the pleasantries, I introduced myself, and I thanked him for letting us come in and see, but then I had to get as far away from him as I possibly could. And I'm pretty sure Peggy's going to have the same effect on me.
Julie says, "Let's go."
Okay, Julie, if you go with me and hold my hand, I might be able to do this.
I said we might consider it next time we get out to Vegas.
Let's take Tiffany and Rhonda with us, please. And Steve.
And we got a friendly, gentle reminder or a note from our good friend Janine.
Hey, Janine.
Janine's apparently tuning in tonight, and she is originally from the UK, and apparently did not quite pronounce Shropshire.
I'm sorry.
Correctly. I probably just butchered it myself, so pardon me if that's the case.
Apologizing.
So Shropshire, not Shire. It's spelled Shire, but it's Shropshire.
Sure. Got it.
Yes.
All right. Yeah.
Yep. So that is Peggy the Doll, the famous Peggy the Doll.
But that is one that we know where she is. We know you can go and see her. Just remember, you got to sign a waiver.
Yes.
All right, Amanda.
Amanda.
You're on Amanda.
Amanda. So we have this one. All of ours kind of have these very simple, just first names tonight, or many of them do. So we have Peggy. Now we have Amanda, and we have several more that are going to be kind of like this. Now Amanda is a bisque doll, which is just it's a type of china or porcelain. So from henceforth, since I may not even be pronouncing bisque right, I'll just say porcelain or china doll. And it's said to be very lonely and unique spirit here in this doll. Amanda has a very pretty face that was designed by Heinrich Handreck.
Say that 5 times fast.
In 1885. Since then, the faces of this particular make of doll is made by the famous Simon and Helbig company. Amanda was originally a doll sold on eBay in August of 2003. That's at least when she kind of started to come on the radar here. She was put back up for auction in the same year. The owner said that she had strange experiences from the doll and no longer wanted her. This went on for a long period of time, and Amanda had now been put up for auction over 20 times since 2003, and maybe even more since then. It's kind of hard to say because of when we...
when this story was found.
So, many of the owners would give the same reason for selling her. They would all say that they had strange experiences with the doll, but never gave a full explanation. Until one day, an unexpected story was revealed. Amanda was a lot more than just a pretty prop for display. A young woman reported the strange events that occurred with Amanda. She said she could never keep her mind away from the doll, and when she tried to forget about her, she would have the worst of nightmares. She found herself always talking to Amanda. She told the doll her stories, her thoughts, her feelings, secrets, and her fears. She knew who to listen to. She liked to listen to me, the woman tells paranormal investigators, but she's not as gentle as you may think. She felt herself being dragged by Amanda in her dreams. One night she awoke with a start, her feet freezing cold. Climbing out of the bed and turning on the light, she discovered something shocking. Her feet were blue, a very deep blue. They appeared to have had cat scratch marks everywhere. She was absolutely terrified, and that's when she decided to call an ambulance. Desperately racing to the phone, she sat and looked down at her feet, but they were no longer blue. The color had disappeared in the blink of an eye. Shocked and in total disbelief, she sat with the phone in her hand, thinking and searching for an explanation. That's when she noticed Amanda looking at her, grinning coldly. Then slowly returning back to her original pretty-faced self like before. The woman took matters into her own hands and sent Amanda to paranormal investigator Reggie Jacobs in hope of finding answers on the evil she felt inside the doll. The investigator felt an extreme presence within the doll, and sometimes Amanda demonstrated this by destroying household items. The ghost that is said to possess her is very active. If she is happy, then she just sits there staring into space. But when she is ready to move on, she begins to wreak havoc in the home she resides in until she is once again sent on her way via eBay. Amanda has been known to move on her own and is often heard scratching on the glass case she is now housed in. Others have told of bad luck associated once the doll came into their lives. One owner told the story of how the doll seemed to often move to different places in her home, even though she lived alone. Amanda was last reported to be unhappily trapped in Atlanta, Georgia with paranormal investigators. She does not like being trapped like this and not being able to move on as she used to when she would regularly get put up for sale on eBay.
Yeah. So we have a question. Do we consider death masks in the same category as haunted dolls or figurines? Actually, I consider them in their own category. Any type of mask was made to represent something. If you're looking at carved masks from other cultures, and we have a couple of stories. I actually found one in Key West recently of a pair of carved masks that were found in a thrift store. But they have a whole different purpose, a whole different meaning, and can have a whole different set of hauntings to them and energies to them. So yeah, definitely different category in and of itself. Especially when a lot of them were used to either represent the ancestors or represent gods. So yeah, different category.
Yeah, and so okay, and then there's actually another question here. Have you ever heard any antique shops that have reports of haunted dolls in particular?
Specifically haunted dolls.
We know of haunted antique shops.
Yeah, Oddballs. Actually, here in Richmond. Is definitely haunted. We've been in contact with their owner quite a bit, and the few times we've gone in there, I actually was walking back by a military section, and there was a Japanese samurai sword and another military sword that were not displayed properly. They were actually resting up against a wall, and I went, oh, that's not good. That's not happy. I mean, I could feel the negative, unhappy waves rushing off of it. And there was actually 2 open slots on a display rack that should be for a samurai sword. So I lifted them up and put them up on the display rack. There was the owner actually wasn't in his stall that day, and the energy was not nearly as negative once I did that. So there's definitely something back there. And I actually, at the coffee shop I work at, one of the managers also knows this shop, and he had been in there like a week later, and he felt the energy around that sword. He's like, yeah, it's something with the samurai swords. So the fact that we both confirmed it's that set of swords was kind of interesting. So definitely a great shop. When they reopen, go check them out. You can find a ton of stuff there, and I'm sure they have some creepy dolls. They have a great horror fiction stall there as well, so if you're into horror like we are. Alright, so our next story is Alice, and this is in Washington State. She's a very pretty doll with a deep blue eyes and brown hair. She stands just over 12 inches tall and has a very interesting story. It started with a young woman named Marie who had taken the doll because she belonged to her family. She still currently owns the doll, and this is in 2013. She had never really taken an interest in the doll, but had known her name was Alice. It was not long after bringing the doll home that she had noticed something strange. Marie heard whispering coming from the direction of Alice. The doll slightly spooked her with this, but it also intrigued her. She wanted to know more. She pressed her ear to the doll's lips. Now, this is something I don't know if I would do if I heard whispering coming from it, because you never know when a doll's going to bite you, as per our first story. But she put her ear right up to the lips, and that's when she confirmed that the whispering was coming from the doll. But it was not something that she could hear that clearly. However, the longer that it carried on, the more she was actually able to understand coming out of Alice. And this took weeks for this to become clear. And what the doll actually spoke in full sentence and requested to be set free from the case that Marie had her housed in. Marie says her eyes will actually follow you around the room, and her expression will change if she does not like you. Alice sits alone in her doll case. She never comes out. Some people claim Marie feels threatened by the doll. She says the doll has been in her family for years. It's always been kept in a locked case. My grandmother said that it was actually possessed by the spirit of her best friend, Alice, who had passed on. No one knows why she has always been locked in the case, but they still refuse to let the doll out, ignoring her requests. I have captured many haunted doll EVPs from her, says Marie, and the most consistent statement she makes is, I want to be left alone to suffer. Alice remains housed inside her doll case and has not been visited by any paranormal investigators. So that would be an interesting one to investigate.
That is sad as all get out.
Yeah, it is.
I want to be left alone to suffer.
Yeah, I actually would like to know more about the person who's said to be inside. What did she die from? What? Because it sounds like she was suffering horribly in her death. So yeah.
That took the wind out of my next comment. I'll just leave that go.
Okay.
yes. Very sad face there. Yes, absolutely.
Thank you, Whitney.
So, with that, we will move on to our next possessed doll.
Amelia. These are going in alphabetical order
Amelia.
now.
Did you do that on purpose?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right.
We got to pee before I stopped for the evening.
So, Amelia. Amelia was once auctioned off on eBay. I'm seeing a pattern here. eBay.
There was a lot of eBay dolls in
Yes.
this week's research.
So where she became one of the highest viewed items ever. The owner wanted to get rid of the doll quickly, and this is actually the description of her on eBay. So get this.
It is long, just so you know.
Yeah. Okay. Now quote. Okay. This is one of the creepiest pretty dolls I've ever seen. Looks like it should have been on a corner shelf in a horror movie. Well, this doll is not recommended for the weak of heart or for any little kids to have in their bedroom. She's too creepy.
Pause. She's used exclamation points and multiple ones after every sentence.
Lots of exclamation points.
Just so you know, the English teacher
is cringing, but the...
I didn't edit.
Nope. But to get the info, she was made by Hamilton Collection in 1994 and is hand numbered 2225B, and her name is Amelia. She stands 19 inches tall and comes with a deluxe doll stand. Now for the good stuff. I not only sell on eBay, but I'm also a paranormal investigator. Well, we investigated our first house last week, and the place was over 100 years old. The woman who lived there claimed to get woken up by a crying baby. She also claims this doll, Amelia, entered her home with blue eyes. She's kept Amelia out of the sun and intense light. She stated the happenings in the house started the second the doll's eyes turned green.
And they are a brilliant peridot green.
She wanted the doll out of the house, and who better to give it to than a paranormal investigator? I did some EMF field tests on the doll, and she peaked at a 2.2. There was no other electrical interference in that area of the room. I also moved the doll around the room, and the EMF readings were all between 1.8 and 2.1. A note, I'm not allowed to give out our paranormal website or name due to eBay regulations. I also cannot guarantee the doll being haunted. I'm only reporting a story and my paranormal findings, so don't expect the doll to jump out of the shipping box and chase you if you win this auction. Thanks for looking and bid today.
So we had a question real quick of, do they have a special haunted section on eBay? I don't know. I don't shop on eBay. But on Pinterest, when I was searching some of these dolls, and I searched haunted dolls, there were a lot of things that popped up that linked you to eBay, and they're all labeled haunted dolls. And again, they can't guarantee they're haunted. How do you document that? But yeah, it's something you'd actually have to look up yourself. Anyway, to continue the story, a few hours later, the doll was won and arrived at the new owner's home, and a few days later, he loved the doll but did not believe the story to be true. One day, he left for work, closing, locking the door behind him like usual, and he heard a loud thump. Opening the door, he looks around trying to figure out what could have caused the thump, but couldn't find anything. The second day, again, he left as normal, locking up the doors, and heard the loud thump. After closing the door, he checks, again, nothing. After many days of this thumping becoming louder and louder, he could not figure out what was going on. One night, when sitting in the lounge room, the thump is heard again. He races to the hallway to find the doll, Amelia. She stood up by the door with her back facing toward him. A strange feeling washes over him, and he quickly places the doll in his bedroom. She is placed on a shelf where he can see her. On the same night, he goes to bed with Amelia facing him on the shelf. He wakes to a strange giggling. Sitting up to face Amelia, he's stunned. There she is, waving and smiling back at him. Her eyes a brighter shade of green than ever. Too frightened to keep the doll, she is sent off again and now lives with new owners. The location is unknown, and what scared the people the most are these bright green eyes that were said to once be blue. And again, if you look at pictures of her, it is literally the lightest peridot color you can ever find, and it is an eerie, glowing, light green color. Any fun comments?
Oh yes, yeah.
Oh,
it's all lit up on the comments section tonight. So apparently you could get the freaking Dibbit box from eBay. Thank you, Whitney, for that one.
Oh boy.
And something for us to check out afterwards. Janine just sent us a note. Almost lost it. Gosh, so many comments. Just sent you a text about my mom-in-law's porcelain doll from Japan that now resides in Chesterfield. We'll have to check that out after the
Janine,
episode.
we might be coming with the equipment.
Whitney also has puppets from Taiwan. Mm-hmm. That's cool. And Patrick has been accused of being the one to deliberately buy a haunted doll from eBay.
Okay.
Which he quickly followed up to say that he would actually pass on that.
Don't send it to us.
Oh, Janine, you don't have to be embarrassed. Yeah, yes, we're still live. It's all good. Don't worry about it. This is great.
This is the fun part about live.
We love the interaction. Thank you,
yes.
Janine. No worries.
Alright, so we're going to get out of the A's and move to the B's, to Babette. Babette is a small red-headed, blue-eyed porcelain doll from 1976 and has been a favorite for many doll collectors. Babette is a very real haunted doll, says paranormal investigators and doll collector Janice Poole. Janice has a collection for over 25 haunted dolls purchased through eBay. A few were given to her by people who knew in their hearts their doll was haunted, and she has even encountered many paranormal activities in her home, from items moving and walls knocking to heavy conversations and seeing spirits in person. She says her home only became haunted since the arrival of the dolls, and she believes that they are responsible for all of the paranormal activity in her house. Excuse me. Janice plans to actually take her collection on the road to several haunted conferences and conventions to display them for all to see, or who would like to consider investigating them. And Babette will be the star of the show. The doll will show the world what a real haunted doll is. I always worry when people say something like that. When Babette first arrived in her house, she automatically changed the atmosphere, but not in a good way or a bad way. It was just different. It was almost as if the doll was bringing mixed emotions into the house. One night, Janice was in her room sorting through some old books when a cold chill ran through her body. Somebody was watching her, and she could feel it. She could feel the eyes focus right into her and could not help but to look over her shoulder. No one was there. The only thing behind her was a closet door, just slightly open. She ignored the feeling as much as she could, and not long afterward she felt something run past her feet. I would have been out of the house at this point in time. Now this time she actually went to the other room, and she spent the night in the other room, not in her bedroom. On other nights, she would hear giggling, followed by a loud slam of a door in the distance. Doors opened and closed, windows fused shut, and keys for the door would appear in different locations. Janice already knew that much about the paranormal and believed that she should actually have the house blessed. So she did. Months later, and after the blessing, things continued to worsen, and she had no clue what to do or where to turn. Until one night when she heard the thumping sound coming from the attic above her bedroom. Upon reaching for the entrance to the attic, she peeks around from where she is on the ladder to see if she can find the source of the sound. Again, nothing was immediately heard. The air was mildly cool, but the atmosphere was very thick and tense. Again, she gets the disturbing feeling of being watched. She's very uncomfortable, and before she knows it, she's gasping for breath and caught in what felt like a dream or a vision. Everything turns black, and it feels like she is falling into a black hole. She then sees visions of herself looking at a man about 6 foot tall. He's angry and heading towards a door inside an old room of a house. It's not her house. He opens the door and whispers. The whispers are heard, but the whispers are hard to hear, but the tone is menacing. A scream of a young girl is heard, and crying and gasping for breath under loud sobs behind the door. Then there is silence. The door swings open, and the man is gone, and all that is seen is the body of a little girl lying on the floor, lifeless. In her hand is the little doll wearing the blue gown and the red shoes, the doll she had purchased. Janice opens her eyes to see the dark attic and catches her breath. Out of the corner of her eye, something moves very quickly. She turns her head to find the doll she had not long ago purchased, the same doll from the vision, Babette. She reached for it, brought it downstairs, decided that she was going to keep the doll safe and do as much research as she could to see if she could discover this supposed murder that she had witnessed. She wanted to find out if, in fact, Babette was there when a murder of a small child happened, and did the child's ghost and then go trapped inside Babette.
Babette.
Very creepy. Very creepy.
Creepy.
It's a creepy doll.
Creepy doll. So we had a request that. Yes, Coda. Yes, you are supposed to be able to sleep after this. This is how we go to sleep just about every night.
And you wonder, when I was researching these dolls, how well I slept. Not too well. Not well at all.
She's had some issues, but I basically I stay up after her just about every night, usually watching something horror.
Brandy helps.
Yeah, brandy, booze.
Jameson.
But we also got a request. I'll follow up after the episode tonight. Somebody was asking if we have links to any of these dolls, like online links. So I think, we will certainly, I'll follow up after we're done being live here tonight.
There's a ton of YouTube videos out there on them. That was a bunch of my source material, and as I said, Pinterest. The dark, deep rabbit hole that is Pinterest, and I love dearly, is a wonderful place to start, and then it'll take you to article links and things along those lines as well. So, definitely. I have an entire Pinterest page that is nothing but ghost research.
Oh, and we got another question from Julie. Did she ever find anything with her research? The research that she was doing?
Not that I found in any articles, unfortunately. Since she didn't even know what country to start in, that was part of it. So it's, 1976 is when the doll was first put on the market, and just that doll series, not the specific one that she has. So she's got quite some time that she's got to be shifting through and trying to find, and that's even if the murder was reported.
Yeah. So we'll go ahead. We'll post a few links tonight, and at least make sure that you have like a proper spelling of names and stuff too. Yeah. So that way, if you want to look beyond whatever links that I post, you'll be more than welcome to go ahead and do so. Because as Beth said, it can be a bit of a rabbit hole. You got your Pinterest, you got your Reddit, you got all these other independent sites.
There's a ton of independent haunted sites out there, websites and magazines and that sort of thing that I pull from.
Yeah. Yeah. Lots of information out there, but I'll be happy to go ahead and put something out there to give you all a start.
And there's a great page, and that's all paranormal investigations, and they do like little small blurbs about various things. It's kind of like the Atlas Obscura for paranormal investigations. And some of these dolls are in there as well, so it's kind of cool to see what they have and then jump from there into deeper research.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll follow up on that.
Caroline.
Moving on. Next in alphabetical order. And no, we do not get all the way to Z.
No.
For whatever reason,
I stopped at P tonight, and I skip a lot of letters.
Yeah, and a lot of dolls seem to have first names that are low in the alphabet. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, so, we're jumping from C to J next,
yeah,
so just so you know.
Caroline is said to be a very haunted doll. She stands at about 16.2 inches. About. That seems very precise to me, but all the same. She has a porcelain head. Caroline was originally purchased in Old Salem, Massachusetts antique shop many years ago. And so there you go. Antique shop with a haunted doll. But
again,
not there anymore, but it was purchased from there, so they do exist. The exact date is not known. She was owned by several people over the years, and each owner placed their own spirit and love upon her. Each and every owner took good care of the doll, cleaning her and keeping her in great condition. Some believe that at least 3 distinctively different spirits inhabit the doll. They all battle for control over her. A haunted doll with multiple personality disorder.
It's crowded in her.
Yes. She's the subject of frequent paranormal investigations by several paranormal groups. Each have their own opinion as to what actually haunts the doll, but all agree that this haunted doll does not hold a fake story. Caroline is said to whisper when you hold her ear close to hold your ear close to her lips. Her words are always soft, sometimes hard to understand. Her second owner, John, claimed that she'd always tell him, "Make it you." Although the words may not make sense, John believes they are her giving words of good luck. She does not threaten or hurt anyone, and she is believed to have the purest of souls. Caroline is also said to move books and other objects around the house. She will hide the books behind the bookshelves, and candles were found in the oven when one of her previous owners died. That doesn't necessarily seem very innocent.
No.
But anyways...
They weren't lit.
Purest of souls. So, the investigations were then dropped and never continued. She began to calm down, her spiritual activities slowed, and she has very rarely whispered since. It was as if her mood has just dropped, just like she had had enough. She was last seen during an investigation back in 2004.
Yeah, so keeping track of a lot of these haunted dolls is difficult because when an owner dies and somebody inherits the doll, they may not keep it, and you might not know where it ends up. It could end up in a thrift store. It could end up on eBay, as we've discussed before. So, again, trying to track all of them down is difficult. And I spent days trying to find places where they might actually still be. But again, the trail goes cold. All right, so we have Charlie. Charlie was found in New York in 1968. I do say found, not originally built. He is a tatted doll that was found at the bottom of a crate with nothing but a yellowed piece of newspaper and a prayer. The newspaper was dated back to the 1930s, but it's unknown how old the doll itself is. The family named the doll Charlie and thought he was the perfect addition to their own doll collection. The 5 children in the family adored Charlie, as they had quite an active imagination, also had fun talking to the doll. But the family noticed that when they were tidying up the dolls so often, Charlie had originally been in one place, but now seemingly was in a different place. They didn't think too much of it. Again, 5 children. They played with the dolls. The doll would move around. But with the 5 children in the house, they started to notice that the 4-year-old said the doll had spoken to her. It was in the middle of the night. Although spooked, the parents shrugged it off. After all, again, their children have active imaginations. Charlie then went from being a loved doll to a feared one. The children were afraid to use the bathroom in the middle of the night, and none of them would go into the room with the doll. One day, the 4-year-old came out with scratches all over her, but she insisted that it wasn't the cat's fault, it was Charlie. The parents never fully understood where these stories were coming from or where the scratches had come from, but decided it was best to put Charlie back into the trunk and into the attic. Many years later, the children had grown, moved out, and the house was sold. Charlie was taken to a garage sale, and still inside the trunk, a woman bought the doll and added it to her antique collection. It was not long before Charlie was making his presence known again. He still moves himself around from time to time, but it said only the children are afraid of him. Yeah, not my type of doll. I really don't like dolls.
Yeah, we don't have...
I like teddy bears.
Yeah, we have teddy bears in the house. We don't really have dolls.
Yeah.
Do we have any dolls in the house? Well, we
No.
do have the one little, like, marionette.
Yeah, marionette, but...
That's even packed away right now, isn't it? I don't think it's out anymore.
Mm-mm.
No,
Mm-hmm.
we got, like, Figment back up here over the shoulder. We
I
got
like
a few stuffed animals. But, yeah, that's kind of our limit. Yeah, so, yes.
Alright, so this next one really creeps me out. I have no idea I don't know why they keep this doll.
Juliet. Juliet's story has reached back through generations. She is said to curse any family who owns her. This is kind of mind-blowing. I don't get this. She does not have any maker's mark or any sign that she has been generally made by a certain doll's artist. Juliet the doll, allegedly now owned by a woman named Anna G., has been passed down from mother to daughter through several generations. The doll is said to curse each daughter to give birth to 2 children. A daughter, whom the doll will later be given to, and a son who will die within 3 days of being born. The family believes the spirits of the lost sons are said to be cursed to inhabit the doll until Judgment Day. My mother lost a son the same way as did my grandmother and my great-grandmother. As I have been told by my mother, the cursed doll was given to my great-grandmother by a jealous friend as a toy when she was pregnant with her second child, a son who died just at 3 days old. Each of us in my family have loved the doll and cared for our lost children to this day. My only daughter will do the same one day when she is older, said Anna. Anna has every intention of giving this doll to her daughter,
knowing that it's going to curse her daughter to have 2 children, one of which is a boy who will die on the 3rd day. It is a pattern throughout the family since this doll has entered the family.
Completely mind-blowing that this is a family tradition. But anyways, and this is a fairly old story, mind you. So in August of 1945, Juliet made her first paranormal appearance and giggled as the owner's cat walked by her feet. The doll always giggled and changed her facial expressions when someone had made a mistake. Family pets always hid from the doll, truly terrified and wanting to stay as far away as possible. Juliet is said to be heard crying through the night with the voices of several infants at once. Often a piercing scream is heard that sends chills down the spine of any mother, and it can be heard quite clearly, says Anna. We have tried not to get rid of it because we know the spirits of our lost sons are trapped inside, and we do not want them to come to any harm. It is a haunted curse that my family bears. Anna has consulted mediums, psychics, paranormal investigators, and the clergy. They all say I'm crazy. But I know what I feel, and I know that it's true to me. Years went by trying to find answers, but to this day, Juliet remains with her family, said to be inhabiting the spirits of the lost little boys that died at the mere age of 3 days old. That's messed up.
It is. And it also makes me wonder how much is a self-fulfilling curse. If they truly believe it and know it in their hearts. I don't know. It's one of those things that it's sad, it's scary, it's hard to understand.
It's cult-like.
It is.
It must be. I wonder if it's the same type of thing. It's like the same mentality that goes into cults that most of us find to be so very extreme, but it's just the way things are.
I also looked to see if I could find what their culture was, because some of this belief might be part of the culture. So... Alright, Pupa. Pupa was owned by one owner from the day she was given to the child in the 1920s until she died in 2005. This was a family that lived in Italy at the time. She's about 14 inches tall. Her head, arms, and legs are made of felt. The hair is reportedly made of real human hair. The owner cherished her throughout her life. The doll traveled from Italy to the U.S., back to Italy, and across Europe, finally ending up back in the U.S., and she is still in her original clothes of a blue suit made of felt. The original owner said Pupa was alive and had a mind of her own. She even told her grandchildren stories that it was her best friend and most beloved confidant. She told them Pupa talked to her over the years and even saved her life. Since the passing of the owner in 2005, the family reports that the haunted doll has become very active. The doll seems to want to be released from where she's kept. There have been reports that people have seen the glass case she's in steam up. Written in steam from the inside of the case are the words like Pupa hate. It is written in childlike handwriting. Often she is said to push things around in the display case where the family who owns her keep her. Pupa is said to move by herself. She always seems to be placed differently than how the owners have placed her. More than once, a family member has reported hearing the sounds of someone tapping on the glass as they pass by. When they turn to look, they have seen Pupa's hand pressed against the glass or her legs crossed when they were not crossed before. The activity seems to be something in common with Mandy and Robert. One member of the family reported to catch the doll actually rising up to its feet, walking within the case, and this was all caught on video. However, on the 3 occasions he tried to upload the video onto YouTube, the video was obscured with a white, mysterious film and the words Pupa No written in it.
Pupa no. Pupa no.
Again, same childish handwriting they had seen in the display case. Many family members say to have seen Pupa shifting in places in her display case, and they say she feels trapped. No one knows where Pupa is currently located. The paranormal investigators would love to investigate her, but again, impossible when you don't know what the location is. Some say she's evil, and looking at her makes people very uncomfortable. And she's, seeing the pictures of her next to the original owner, you can actually see the historic picture online. She's a small little felt doll, and you're just like, oh boy. Nasty things can come in small packages.
Creepy dolls.
Very creepy doll.
Creepy dolls. So we did actually have a question before we get too much further along. Any stories that we know about Charlie McCarthy ventriloquist dolls?
I have heard stories about Charlie.
We have a Connie. It says she has one, and he is kind of creepy.
Oh, they are creepy looking, incredibly creepy looking. That type of ventriloquist doll was used by who's the actress? I'm blanking. She won Miss America. She played Miss America in the Sandra Bullock movie. She played the leader. I'm blanking. Anyway, she did ventriloquism for her talent, and her father was a famous ventriloquist. He used the same doll, the same style mannequin.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I wasn't familiar, but you've been one doing a lot of the research.
Yeah. No, this is something I knew from years ago when a traveling ventriloquist came to my church, and I've been creeped out by ventriloquist dolls ever since.
I also seem to recall that when we first met, you seemed to watch that Sandra Bullock movie, the for Miss America one.
Yeah.
You watched it quite a bit.
I did.
Now you watch Last Holiday all the time.
Yes.
But anyways, so yeah, that makes sense.
Anyway.
Edgar Bergen. Oh, somebody's trying to tag somebody.
Okay.
Never mind. Okay.
Okay, so we're going to end with our last Virginia story, and this one takes place in Chesapeake.
So this is known as a House Most Strange, and this was in one of the books by the Ghost of Virginia, long series of books by
L.B. Taylor Jr.
L.B. Taylor Jr.
So this is book number 7, and
yes.
it's at the very end. I'm going to show you the picture of the first of the 2 dolls. And you can see he is very, very creepy.
Yes.
And then the second one, she's very pretty and dainty looking.
Yep.
So, but I wanted to be able to show you the pictures of those.
But L.B. Taylor has been writing these Ghost of Virginia books for literally decades.
Yeah.
I think the earliest ones came out in the early 90s.
I think even before that.
Maybe before that.
And he also goes by area. He's got Ghost of Tidewater, Ghost of Virginia, Ghost of Richmond.
Yeah.
We don't nearly own enough of them.
We own quite a few of them, but he has a lot of them. So
and some of them are very hard to find.
Yeah, they are. Even on Amazon and the like, they can be very difficult to find.
Yeah,
some of them.
And they can be very pricey. I've seen one of them for $85.
Yeah, we haven't invested in that one, not yet.
But they're a great resource, and he actually goes back and revisits some of the stories from his previous books when he's gotten new information. So you know, as you read along, he'll say, Williamsburg, With House Revisited, and that sort of thing. So excellent source for Virginia ghost stories. But this one,
Edgar Bergen used the Charlie Vincula.
Bergen, that's it. Bergen's the name.
Thank you. Sorry, I thought somebody was trying to tag somebody. Thank you for clarifying that. So thank you to Denise for first pointing that out, and thank you for Patrick for clarifying to me because I did not understand. and Glenn has lots of Taylor's books.
Yes.
Yeah, and if you don't have any of Taylor's books, you can find a fair bit of them. They're all over the place.
Yeah, you can find them in used bookstores. I always look for them when I go into used bookstores, but they're also on Amazon. They're not in print anymore, unfortunately.
Not all of them.
A lot of them are used, and you have to get them from dealers.
Which is truly unfortunate because he's a very, very good researcher and writer for these books. So if you find a Ghost of Virginia, Ghost of Tidewater, Ghost of Charlottesville, etc., don't hesitate to pick it up. We vouch for them. They're good books.
And if you ever want to gift us with one.
Yep. So anyways, A House Most Strange. Some of this does come from Taylor's book, and it was a very, very long story in and of itself, but it does include the dolls, so we're just kind of going to skip to that part because that's what we're focusing on this evening. So anyways, Chesapeake, Virginia. There is a house that is a candidate for the title of A House Most Strange. It is a ranch house in the rural section of Chesapeake owned by Gary and Kimberly Kiefer. The unusual paranormal events have been going on for over 20 years and have attracted national attention. The Kiefers have appeared on the Montel Williams Show, dating itself here. Their house has been on the subject of newspapers, magazine articles, and the family has been visited by a number of psychic experts and paranormal teams, including Virginia Ghost and Haunt Research Society, VGHRS. The reason for the attention includes the large number of separate entities, 12 and counting, that manifest the strange nature of the activity in the home.
And the two creepy dolls.
And, of course, the two creepy dolls that they have there. Kimberly collects dolls, and not all of them are haunted. However, when she acquired Beanie and Cecil, things started to happen. Beanie quickly became a menacing nuisance. At night, when everyone was asleep in the house, Beanie would shove Cecil off of the shelf and onto the floor, no matter how many times they put Cecil back up on the shelf. Beanie would knock him down again. Kimberly then banished Beanie from the house, and he now stays in Gary's workshop.
I don't know if I would want to put a doll that knocks things off in a workshop. Just saying, there's a lot of sharp pointing objects in there.
Good point.
Continuing.
Kimberly found another doll on a trip to Williamsburg. Kimberly decided to stop in an antique store along Route 60 to browse. There are many antique stores.
Yes, and I love going along Route 60 to look.
Yeah. It was there that she discovered a small doll, only about 8 inches tall, in a cardboard box surrounded by a bunch of other dolls. When I pulled her out, I didn't feel anything unusual. Kimberly purchased the doll, and when she returned home, the doll was placed on the fireplace hearth. Kimberly says she looked away and then looked back to discover the doll's expression had changed. She left the room and returned to discover the expression had changed again. At this point, she got out of the house. When Gary returned home, he took the doll to his shop. Seems to be a recurring thing. Dolls wind up in the shop. Later, when they brought the doll back into the house, don't know why, her face got black and blue. It bruised right in front of their eyes. A friend came over to look at the doll, and the doll's eyes moved from left to right. The doll's eyes were designed to close when you lay her down, but not to move in any other direction. So looking from side to side, not supposed to happen. Her fingers have also been reported to move. The little doll will make will often only bruise for women, and when investigators come to the house, they will often ask the men to leave before bringing her out. In November of 1999, Gary, Kimberly, and their 2 sons appeared on the Montel Williams show. Year I graduated high school. Yeah.
I was already in college.
Yeah. Anyways, producers had heard about the dolls and other phenomena at their house. They brought the dolls onto the show, and one of the guests on the show that day was internationally renowned psychic Sylvia Brown. Both Brown and Williams literally freaked out when they saw the dolls. Williams likened Beanie to Chucky of horror movie fame. There's something creepy in that doll, Brown warned. Dolls are strange. This doll carries really, really bad vibrations. That doll would make great firewood.
When a paranormal psychic tells you to throw the doll
in the
fireplace, you might want to listen.
Might want to consider that. There's something wrong with the atmosphere. I love antiques, but whenever you buy anything now, or especially antiques, feel them. See how they feel. Because the person that owned them before, the person that made them, will put their energy into them. I don't like either one of them, but that one, referring to Beanie, the one underneath, that would be in my fireplace in 2 seconds. On the show, Psychic Brown was also able to accurately describe 2 of the ghosts in their house. The second doll did bruise on camera during taping, but that footage was cut from the show when it aired. I cannot begin to understand why. Why? Anyways, when the TV crew went to the Kiefer's house to film some segments, some of their equipment would not work inside the house, but when they had tested it outside the house, it had no problems. Crew members had returned to their van for another piece of equipment, and the van was discovered to be locked, even though none of the members had actually locked it. Their keys would not work when they tried to physically unlock the doors. They also reported catching on film a grayish figure walking across the family room.
So as we mentioned, the house is very haunted as well, and it has 12 plus ghosts in it. So we'll probably revisit the house for another story night, because there were some very interesting things when I was reading about that, but we chose to focus on the 2 dolls, and as I said, I showed you the pictures so you can see why Montel and Brown kind of freaked out with Beanie in particular. I do agree that if you burn something, you can release some very bad mojo. Burning is supposed to be cleansing, but it also can backfire on you if you don't take separate precautions. So, did we get any other questions?
People fanning over L.B. Taylor. Justifiably
Yes.
so.
Oh, yeah. L.B. Taylor. Fantastic.
Yep,
if I ever
yeah.
get a chance, God, I would love that.
Glenn actually got to see Mr. Taylor at Stafford Hall about 7 years ago. But he has passed.
Yeah, he has passed.
He has passed,
if I had
sadly
a
so.
chance, it would have been fantastic. But again, his books are amazing, so I'm still collecting. Periodically, I will go on a spending spree and just give him a heads up. Taylor's coming to the house.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, what did you buy, Taylor?
More Taylor.
More Taylor.
More Taylor. There's always seems to be more Taylor.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to have like 17 books in this series.
Minimum.
And we only have 6.
Is that all?
Only 6 of the big ones. We have a couple of the small ones as well.
Yeah, I think we have Ghosts of Charlottesville and Ghosts of Tidewater.
Tidewater.
So, and
we need to get the Richmond one.
Yeah, Richmond. I thought he also did like Fredericksburg.
Yeah, he did a whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
So we need to go shopping for more.
What is the $85 Taylor book? I can't remember which one it was, but it was one that was hard to find. Well, it might have changed by now, it was on Amazon. And
I'll quickly look at my list.
Yeah, so there's just some of them
that are just they're rare. So
for whatever reason they're rare. So, but
if my list actually opens
I'll bring it. Coda's offering to bring it to us on our next tour. Ooh. Hey, Glenn, thank you. Appreciate you. Glad that you appreciate the live stream. Glad that everybody is appreciating this. That was our last story for tonight, right?
That was our last story.
Yeah. So, that was our last creepy doll for this evening. We do have a whole nother. Coda just ordered a Ghost of Fredericksburg. I've been spending a lot of time up there. Cool.
Okay, so the Big Book of Virginia Ghost Stories is $35. That's the second most expensive one.
And these are all
on Amazon.
and they're not actually fulfilled by Amazon. They're private sellers that are selling on Amazon. So it's kind of one of those things. It's one of those one and done things. Once somebody snaps them up, that's it. They're gone. So
I think it was volume. Was it volume 9 or no? Volume 11 was the one that was the more expensive and harder one to find. And apparently there's one available for $15, so we might need to pick that up.
Might have to do that tonight. But yeah.
Shopping!
So yes. But anyways, so yeah, but that was our last haunted dolls for tonight. We actually have quite a few more haunted dolls, so we'll probably
I have a version 3 I'm tweaking right now.
Yeah, so we'll be doing that again in
the future.
In the future. But next week,
haunted beach towns vacations.
So we've actually
because we want to go to the beach.
We've actually that's kind of we're getting ahead of ourselves with our drinks. Tonight the rum up here and the ginger beer that I got here. Dark and stormy, a beautiful tropical drink which I grew truly addicted to during a visit to Key West. You're just drinking Bold Rock.
Yeah, finishing the last Bold Rock in the house.
Nothing wrong with that. Bold Rock's great. Yay Virginia cider. Cheers to that.
I've been saying all week I want Dark and Stormies, and I haven't had one yet, and I really should.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're looking at stories. We've got Key West. We've got Tidy Island. We've got the Outer Banks, of course. And we've got some from Maine. I'm still searching for Virginia. The Virginia story that I want.
Yeah. But
there's a couple of them that I'm not a fan of, so I'm still looking for better ones.
We'll figure it out. We got a week. It'll be all good. But I'm totally in beach mindset. I haven't been wearing anything all day.
This is my first sock of the night. So
she's wearing socks. Forget it. I'm done.
But yeah, we've been wanting to go Outer Banks for a while now. So we're overdue for a trip to the Outer Banks.
Yep. So yes, we are. we're overdue for a trip.
Period. Because all of our trips have gotten canceled this year so far.
Sadly, we at the moment have absolutely nothing to look forward to for the rest of the year. We'll make some plans eventually.
We will, but right now
eventually
everything got canceled, and we just don't want to rebook anything until we know what's going on. So we just might have to go for a drive.
Timbuktu is sounding nice too.
Scotland, where I can thoroughly disconnect.
A beach in Scotland?
I'd be good with that.
Cheers.
Sky, here we come.
Yes. All right. So with that, yay to sand and no socks. Absolutely, definitely. So
Hammock under the shade of a palm tree with a fruity drink.
Yes.
I am so for that right now.
So you be prepared. We'll be back next week with more of that.
We are going to talk about the Gray Man, which is seen in the Outer Banks, because that was one that was brought up when I did our lighthouses.
Yeah, you cannot talk about...
And since we just had a tropical storm come through.
Or currently coming through. Yeah, it's still out there.
It was appropriate. So we will talk about the Gray Man.
Yep, so we'll talk about him. We'll talk about a whole bunch of other beach-type ghosts. And, while I got you all here, while I got your ear... We will be back. We will
open. This is my full-time job.
Yeah.
I will be working.
With the walking tours. We will be back.
But unfortunately, we are not allowed to open during phase 1. So we have to wait till phase 2.
Whenever that is.
Yeah.
And also based on Richmond mayor and all that good, bad stuff, which we will just not get into very much depth at right now. But
please help us buy gift cards for either the Ghost Tour Company or the History Tour Company. They are interchangeable between the companies.
Yes.
We do have something in the works for the History Tour Company for Richmond Historic Haunt, so we will hopefully be announcing that later on.
Yep.
We just don't think it'll quite work for the Ghost Tour Company.
We'll figure it out.
But
One thing at a time.
We'll see how it goes with the History Tour Company, and we'll go from there. But we do have something in the works, and again, as soon as we get the A-OK from the government to start walking outdoors again with people, we will be happy to be up and running. But
whether,
again, phase 2 is the minimum.
Masks, social distancing, whatever it is that we need to do, be able to actually get out and be able to see some people again.
Yep.
Because we miss you.
We miss people interaction. we like talking face to face with people
But
at a safe distance.
But with that said, we are very, very grateful for y'all tuning in and participating this evening and chatting with us. And this has been great. Mm-hmm. We've loved this, and we hope that you've enjoyed our stories for tonight.
Yeah, and if you have any stories that you'd like to have us talk about in the future, certainly shoot us a message on Facebook, comment during the show, and we will try to work them into a theme night.
Yes, because
it's fun.
The themes are never ending. We have many, many, many ideas.
Coda, I'm going to hug you too. As soon as I see you on tour, I'm going to hug you and I'm going to scratch your puppies.
Point Lookout has lots of ghost stories at the beach as well. That's true.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Back to that one.
Yeah, we can pick a couple from that because there's so many ghost stories out there.
Because we did the lighthouse.
We did the lighthouse, but there's much more that we didn't talk about Point Lookout. So thank you, Glenn. Yeah, we will we'll definitely throw that into the rotation.
Yes. Excuse me, I'm finishing my dinner of popcorn. I didn't quite finish it.
Popcorn for dinner tonight.
Because lunch was heavy and late. I make fried chicken and
the
all
benefits,
the fixins.
Benefits and drawdowns of quarantine.
Yeah.
Anyways, what was this? Episode 10, 11? I don't know.
I've lost count.
I lost count. Oh dear. This is bad. So, alright. Anyways.
We will see you all next Monday.
We will see you all next Monday. Until then, cheers everybody.
Cheers, and thanks for watching, and definitely message us, keep us updated
sane.
With
keep us sane.
Ideas, and I will go on my researching binges.
So, thanks y'all for tuning in. Be in touch. We'll be back next Monday doing this again, and drop us a line anytime. We are thrilled to hear from you.
Yeah,
so
and definitely, if you can buy a gift card for future tours, go ahead and buy one, and you will be able to use it. I promise.
Oh yeah, and also if you go to our Facebook news feed, I have it pinned to the top, the link that would actually take you to where you can buy gift cards if you're so inclined. So, anyways.
With that,
we
will sign off for the night.
We will finally sign off for the night. So thanks again for tuning in, everybody. Y'all stay safe, y'all stay healthy, and we will talk to y'all again soon. Night-night.